Hi, Diane Davidson here with my partner Bill Weidecker. Here for our podcast, Good Deeds, Real Estate with a Mission. We're from the Fine Homes Group at Keller Williams. That was take 6. Anyway, but we didn't miss on the purple twin outfits, did we?
No, we're going to an event that requires us to wear purple. So
there we go.
That we didn't do this for any other reason.
Only purple clothing I have.
If all the viewers actually knew how many times we've tried to just begin this and get it right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to spend more time on it.
No, not at all. Well, that about wraps it up for today.
Yeah, any questions?
Okay. So you wanted to talk about negotiations, and you prevailed.
Well, this is that time.
Mm-hmm.
At one time.
At one time.
I just feel like in this market right now, people feel like it's the simplest thing in the world to put your home on the market and prevail. You're going to have multiple offers, and it's so easy. And while that might seem to be the case, I feel like negotiations are even more complicated today than they were 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with this?
I agree with that.
So if I'm the seller and I say, how hard can it be? How are you going to help me negotiate? I just pick my price, hold out for the highest price that I can get, and there's 15 offers. I take the top priced property, and there I go.
If you were the seller.
Prove me wrong.
Not the seller.
Prove me wrong.
So as we like to say, there are over 100 blanks on a purchase and sale agreement in New Hampshire, right? And only a couple of them deal with price. So all of the rest deal with getting to the closing table, right? And so it's not just about, and getting there as a seller when you want to be there and how you want to be there. So it's not always the highest price that prevails. Often it is the highest price that sort of gets massaged to that level with terms that are better than what's initially included. And so, we have buyers are in a tough position because they don't know what it'll take for them to prevail, for them to win the property. Once they're told by a seller what it will take, then things change. So what somebody's highest and best was, that isn't necessarily their highest and best. It's all sort of like kind of a cat and mouse game. So really having agents who can navigate those waters is critical. So the thing is that, can anybody put a sign on the ground and have an offer that they're willing to accept? Yes. First of all, if they don't start by preparing the property, then that offer that they're willing to accept is not nearly as attractive as it could be, right? But the key is not just having an offer that's acceptable. It's getting that offer to the closing table. It doesn't mean anything until the money's in the bank. And that's really, in our marketing plan, for instance, our selling experience that we share with our prospective sellers, preparing the listing is critical. On-market activities are critical. Negotiating the contract is a whole section unto itself. And then, of course, managing the transaction. But a transaction, in order to manage a transaction, we want to make it as bulletproof as possible going into the transaction management part. There are plenty of hurdles that have nothing to do with the buyer or the seller. They have to do with lending, perhaps, or certain guidelines, some certain regulations that need to be complied with. So we don't need to make it more difficult. We as agents should be, to the extent that we can, streamlining the transaction management, right? Setting us up for success, setting our clients up for success, I should say. And oftentimes, is this all one sentence? I think it is. I'm very passionate about this, that.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, there are situations that are win-win situations. Is this where you say what you mean by that?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Perfect. Things, for instance, inspections, home inspections, we don't really believe in people waiving those. We think that that's setting themselves up for potential liability, right? Future liability. And if they choose to strategically, then we really do suggest people have the inspection the moment they close, so they know exactly what's going on around them with it. But there is a strategy and I'm going to share this for everybody. There's a strategy whereby if a buyer has their inspection within 2 days of the accepted offer, the listing listing agent does not have to change the status of the listing in MLS, which is what populates Zillow,
Sure.
right? And so the listing doesn't have a blemish, if you will, a stigma attached to it. Should the transaction not stay together?
Meaning it went off the market and then came back on the market.
Exactly.
What
it just
happened?
stays on the market by MLS rules. We have 48 hours to change.
Because it never goes off the market.
Exactly. Right. And the thing is, it's a benefit to the buyer too, because the buyer, sometimes we make assumptions. Well, we don't, but some agents make assumptions on behalf of their seller or buyer client, like this will be better, this, otherwise you'll be stressed out. Buyers don't really necessarily want to wait 10 days
for a home inspection.
Because that's 8 more than we would suggest that they wait, and 8 days of missed opportunities with houses coming on the market.
Well, it would seem to me then, so in this particular case, when we talk about negotiations, we started off with negotiating from the seller's point of view to their benefit. But when we're representing buyers, there are negotiating skills that are required in order for your buyer client's offer to get accepted.
Correct.
And so it would seem to me that if you can bring that home inspection to bear within 48 hours, that's going to stand out from all other offers.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why I call it a win-win. It's a win for the buyer who knows quickly whether they will continue with that transaction. And it's a win for the seller because their properties, the status of their property hasn't changed. So that's why we call it that. And so there are many terms that fall into that category when it really is our job to explain to whichever party you're representing, and sometimes to share that with the agent who's representing the other party, why it's a benefit to their client, right? So sometimes we have a property under contract now. We have a listing team, and the other agent, once I explained the 2-day thing, after we put it, she found an inspector and had the inspections. We're now getting ready to close pretty soon. But the point is that once she sort of got it, and her clients got it, she texted me and said, "I'm going to start using this 2-day thing." So I know we're giving away a secret, but here's the thing: I think we come from a place, Bill, on our team. I know we do. That we're not, when we're across the table from the buyer's agent, or when we're across the listing, when the buyer's agent across from the listing agent, we're not negotiating against each other. We are working for clients who have a common goal, which is to get to a closing table, right, under terms and price and terms that they're comfortable with, or equally uncomfortable anyway, right?
It's true. And we're looking for that successful transfer of the property.
Exactly.
Both parties want that.
Exactly. That's what they want. And what often makes me sad is that there are agents who, rather than move that in the right direction, are how can I say this? They seem to derive satisfaction in their win seems to be being adversarial, and which almost always results in the two parties not achieving their goal.
Yeah, they get so close and they just don't because everybody. Well, there's so much negative energy whipped into the process. And listen, in fairness to some brokers who like the fight, there are clients who like the fight,
no
and so skilled agents are able to kind of keep everybody moving towards the common goal.
Put it in perspective, right?
So I believe today more than ever that negotiating successfully is a skill and an art, and it is learned. It is not. It's not something that comes intuitively where you go, "Oh, what a negotiator." Mm-hmm. This comes from years and years and years of doing this, and so I like to think that we are as good, if not better, than anybody else out there, and I know that our clients benefit from our wisdom. And so I wanted to talk about it today because I just think in this current marketplace, there are buyers who think I'm never going to get a home. There are sellers that think I'm going to be able to sell it so easily. And the negotiations, I need the agent to help me get the buyer. But the negotiations, I don't have to worry about. It'll just take care of itself. Mm-hmm. And oh man, not in this market. So.
Can I just say we have somebody closing in Newbury it's actually.
Go ahead.
We have to cut it. Can I just say that we have somebody who just closed in Newburyport?
Sure.
And they are. It's a dream come true for them, and it was a very interesting negotiation. There's almost always a way to have people who have that common goal come together. So kudos to agents who understand that, and kudos to agents who are not the obstacles, but rather the facilitators.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. I'm glad you made me talk about this because I love it.
I can tell.
Yeah. Okay. So that's it for today. I know I could go on and on. So thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to tune into our. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.